Hi all, it's Michelle from Cozyegg Designs, and I'm here today to share with you a new release, which I am very excited about. So I'm gonna jump right into it. So several months ago, Sylvia from Running with Needles and Scissors and I decided to design tombstone angels. Tombstone angels are something that are near and dear to my heart. Any kind of tombstones. I absolutely love stitching. I eventually want a whole wall of them. But so we decided that we would design tombstone angels. And so we sat down together and we chose some fabric and threads, and they were going to be a series that we would each, we were each going to do it separately in our own style, that sort of thing. But it was fun to sit down together and choose some fabrics and threads for them. And, also just loving the idea of doing, a tombstone angel. So, and if you watched Sylvia's video where she talked about her needlework market releases, right at the very front of that video, she shares her tombstone angels, so you can see that. And then if you watch all the way to the end, in the last 90 seconds, she talks a little bit also about, us choosing those things together. So yeah, so without further ado, let me show you my design. So this is a piece that I have called Lie Light. And the reason for that is the verse that's on it. So of course you can see the tombstone angel at the top, which is tombstone angels typically appeared on older, more primitive tombstones. And it used to be that tombstones had so much symbolism in them, so much character, in the details. Sometimes you would see a death's head, which is the skull with the wings. Sometimes you would see an hourglass, things like that. But this one is taking that that symbolism of the angel at the top of the tombstone, and then I've added a verse here, which I will tell you about in a minute, and then of course a year and some little motifs here. So simple, primitive. So the verse, let me just read this to you because I can't read backwards on the screen. So the verse here reads, "Warm summer sun, shine kindly here. Warm southern wind, blow softly here. Green sod above, lie light, lie light. Good night, dear heart, good night, good night." And so the verse itself is actually, it appeared on the tombstone of Mark Twain's daughter. So she died when she was about 24, I believe. And he had this verse put on her tombstone, inscribed on her tombstone. Many years later, when he realized that this was being attributed to him as the author, he had the original author's name inscribed on the tombstone. And so the original author, and let me make sure that I get this correct because I always want to flip-flop his name. The original poem is by Robert Richardson. And sometimes I want to say Richard Robertson, and sometimes I want to say Robert Richardson, but it's Robert Richardson. And so the original poem is called Annette, and it is quite a lengthy poem. And I believe it's the last verse there, the last stanza, has similar to these words. Mark Twain actually put his own adaptation onto the tombstone, and that is what I would put here, because I liked some of the wording changes that he made. So the original poem is called Annette, and then this is the adaptation that Mark Twain had put on his daughter's tombstone. Now, when I first ran across this, it was actually on a different tombstone, and I immediately fell in love with it. I fell in love with, of course, the melancholy nature of it, because hello. But also I just thought it was really beautiful. I thought it was peaceful. And while, there's sadness there, it's also that, hope for, that peaceful afterlife, that you can, rest easy, that, you've got the warm summer sun, you've got that breeze, etc. And I really loved the peacefulness of it. I loved the beauty of it. And so when I initially, was thinking about doing, my own series of tombstones, of course, I am drawn to all things, dark and deliciously Gothic, but this poem just absolutely, ensnared me, and I had to chart it. So for anyone that this was a bit of a left turn for, A, you don't know me, and B, more to come. So anyway, but I just had to chart this because I just thought it was so beautiful. And so this is stitched all over 2. And it's 1 thread over 2. It's on 40 count. The fabric that I used is called Eastwick by Needle and Flax. It's beautiful. It's, got this beautiful kind of modeling to it that just had that kind of old, stone sort of look to it without being gray. A lot of the tombstone designs that you see, I, of course, and other people always want to put them on gray, but I really loved the color of this. And the thread that I used, I'm going to try to get a little closer so that maybe it won't be in focus, but maybe you can see the color, is Fisherman's Wharf by Gentle Arts. And it goes from kind of a blue-gray to a brown, almost kind of an olivey green, or kind of that, sort of Havana brown kind of color. And so I just love the variegation on that. Just thought it was beautiful. And then we decided to mount these on boards. April from Homestead Needleworks provided the board so generously. And I absolutely love it. This is the first time I've actually ever used one of her boards. I've seen them, of course, in other pieces, but it's the first time that I've ever used one. And it is so well made. I love how thick it is. It's beautifully done. and just absolutely, you know, the perfect thing to mount your needlework on. So I trimmed it with some chenille from Lady Creates, and this is in the color Olive. I had actually ordered another color that I thought would pick up this blue-gray tone, but it was a no-go. So, so I put the chenille trim on here. I like the way that looks, so quite pleased with it. So this is the first in a series of Tombstone Angels I'm going to be releasing, and I've got some plans for the other ones. So anyway, yeah, I love it. I'm really happy with it. I'm happy with how it turned out, and this is available on my website now in my shop as a PDF download, so you can go out and get it. It is in the Nocturne collection. So when I first started Cozyegg Designs, the first original design that I released was La Luna, which is my Luna moth with the phases of the moon, and she is in the Nocturne collection, and so that's where I have put Light also in the Nocturne collection. So yeah, happy with that. So I hope that if you decide that you want to stitch this, I hope that you enjoy stitching it as much as I did. The stitch count is 100 by 140. So when we first started looking at, you know, these Tombstone Angels, I wanted to kind of stick to a smaller size. I didn't want, you know, these big ginormous things. So I wanted to kind of stick in the 5 by 7 range. And so I don't like to I don't like to dictate constraints to myself with regard to my creativity. So I actually kind of, you know, set my my charting software to 100 by 150, which is like 5 by 7.5, I think. But this ended up being 100 by 140 stitches. And so it is exactly 5 by 7. The design size is exactly 5 by 7 on 40 count. On this particular linen, it actually turned out just a smidge under 5 by 7. So, you know, and I think that's just due to the nature of, you know, dyeing the fabric. It shrinks up a little bit. So, yeah, so if you go with the hand-dyed fabric, you might be able to squeeze this into a 5 by 7 frame, depending on your fabric, but yeah, I just love it. So there you go. That is my new release available now, and look for more of these to come. So, and for everyone that, you know, heard that I was doing a Tombstone Angel and was willing to go out and purchase it sight unseen, I so appreciate that. I appreciate the support. I hope, like I said, that that the direction that I took with this, you know, isn't a disappointment. But like I said, I have some other plans, but I just had to do this. So, and I hope that, you know, like me, that you find the beauty in this piece and want to stitch it as well. So, I appreciate everyone's support. I appreciate, you know, all of the cheerleaders and everyone that has just been so kind and had such kind things to say about my my work. So thank you for that. It means a lot. It's one thing to put out a reproduction sampler. It's another thing to put out an original design. So, all right, well, that's it. I will get this uploaded, and like I said, this is already available on my site to purchase, and if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. If you decide to stitch this, you know, please absolutely tag me in the post. I would love to see it, and happy stitching. Thanks all.